Welcome to more Fanime. How are you doing, people? Today, I'm going to be reviewing chapter 1099 of the One Piece manga. Oh yeah, we are that close, people. One chapter. The next chapter will be 1100, and we all know it's going to be huge. It's going to be a big effing deal, and I'm excited for it. This chapter, 1099, was pretty good. You know, I'm getting a little tired of the flashback. I am. I know we got to get through it. And I know it's sad, and I know it's about Kuma, and it's something we've been waiting for a very long time. It's just, I'm ready to get back to the Straw Hat Crew, personally. I want to get back to the main meat and potatoes. This little dessert trip we've been on has been fun, but I can only eat so much cake before I start to get sick. And right now, I'm over it. I am over the Sorbet Kingdom. I am over it. I can kind of put the pieces together. Maybe it's because I've been reading this religiously now for a few years now, and over again, the One Piece story, and I'm ready to keep moving on. Let's keep moving on. Let's get some new shit in there. Let's get some new info about the Straw Hat Crew. I want a fucking saga like like the Whole Cake Island, where we get some more backstory on somebody like we did with Sanji. That was a big fucking deal for me, because, you know, the Straw Hat Crew, they're our main protagonists. And, you know, I love that Oda takes his time with every other character in the series and gives them a badass backstory and whatnot, or sad backstory, just in-depth, in general backstory on random characters and whatnot. And Kuma is not just some random character. He's a former warlord, a former king, a former tyrant, a former pirate. He is the myth, the legend, Bartholomew Kuma. This guy has been around for so long in the story, and we're finally getting the end of his backstory here. I feel like we are one chapter away from being done with it. And I'm ready to be done with it. Do not forget to like, share, and comment. And while you're at it, how about you subscribe to more Fanime? Help me out with the YouTube algorithms. That would be swell. Before we get in there, don't forget that there is a spoiler warning right here, right now, because I'm going to be spoiling chapter 1099. And happy holidays to all of you. Now that Thanksgiving is over, we are on the road to Christmas, my personal favorite holiday. You know, I like gifts and I like family, and that's what it is all about. Here we go. This chapter begins with Kuma beating the living shit out of the former king of Sorbet, this asshat. I didn't bother learning his name. He's returned after years of being exiled from his kingdom, and he decides, I'm going to go ahead and burn the southern part of Sorbet Kingdom down, just like the people in the east did, the Goa Kingdom. They did it, and the fucking Celestial Dragons gave them a big old round of applause, and they were real happy about them killing all the poor and whatnot, since they can't afford to pay taxes anyway. Are they even real people? No, it's not right. It's not cool, and I'm tired of this guy. You know, and I think that Kuma, I really hope that this is the last time we see this dude, because the fact that he wasn't killed the first time, or at least maimed to the point where he would even have the balls to return to this kingdom knowing that Kuma is around, because Kuma leads a one-man revolution and completely decimates the Sorbet Kingdom, takes over as the king, is, you know, called the Tyrant by the former king, and that's where he gets his nickname. Woo! Got that now. And he's also, you know, he waits. He's like, so you're the king, but not really the king, because he's letting the former king be the actual king, and he's just kind of a figurehead that gives the people hope. And that's cool. That's cool. That's fine. Whatever. We get to see how we meet Connie, the old lady that Bonnie disguises herself as at Reverie. It's kind of like a yada yada thing that Oda's doing here in these few pages, where we get to find out where Connie comes from. You know, she's the former queen of sorbet a couple generations ago, and she must be very old, especially by the time we get to the Reverie. I mean, if she's still alive, I assume she's not, and Bonnie just kind of took up her disguise based on her, since she helped raise her, like, as a grandparent, in a way. But it was kind of yada yada, like, oh yeah, I gotta explain where Connie came from. Here she is. Ha! There you go. A couple pages. You know, it does. I am happy that we're zipping through this backstory. I am. And I'm sure a lot of people will be frustrated how quickly it's going. And, you know, at the same time, I would have been happy if they sped it up even faster. Another yada yada that was probably my least favorite part of this chapter was how Bonnie got her devil fruit ability. She just at one point is running around at full adult Bonnie, the Bonnie we know and love, and she's running around, you know, doing some cardio, getting ready for her 10th birthday, you know, preparing to be fucking healed of her, you know, her diseases. Her blue scale, dragon scale disease. And, you know, they're like, what happened, Bonnie? Why are you so old? Or why are you older? What's going on? Ah, where did you get a devil fruit? And then they show an old man, like, looking through a book of devil fruits. And he's like, ah, the age fruit. It must be this one. How did you even come by this? You know, we know that the devil fruit must have been owned by somebody else, and they died, and then this devil fruit spirit transferred itself to a fruit within the church that Bonnie was living in, and we can assume she ate it. But it was kind of yada yada, and I did not like that, because I felt like her devil fruit was a big deal, and now it just feels like Oda was like, I need to explain how she got that fruit. Here, she found it, and it just appeared to her. It came to her. It has a will of its own. Ha! So Bonnie has her devil fruit now, and it has really nothing to do with the story at large. It helps for her eventually becoming an adult pirate early in her life, but other than that, doesn't really make a big deal about it. Neither should we. So after that, the King of Sorbet makes his return with the Navy, and he's like, we're gonna get you, Bartholomew Kuma. You're gonna regret facing me. And he's got an entire fleet behind them, and again, yada yada, Oda's just like, yep, and of course, the Kuma blew them all up. And we can hope that'll be the last time we see this former king, for sure, because that guy is annoying, almost more annoying than the fuckface from Wano that took 7 fucking kills to kill. The dude with all the, you know, dragon heads. Can't remember his name now. Maybe because we've moved on. I don't know. I'm sure I will remember it after this video. Either way, from there, Kuma's like, well, I have to become a pirate now since I attacked the Navy. And otherwise they'll keep coming here and attacking everybody, and they know that I'm a former slave and I'm a buccaneer and all these things. So I need to go. Will you, former king, Bulldog, and Connie, will you watch Bonnie for me, please? And I'm going to go look for a cure. So, you know, Kuma puts together a ragtag group of pirates, I assume. I can't imagine he's sailing on his own. And he starts traveling the world. He starts going to all the places he sent the Straw Hats. In particular, he goes to where Mihawk eventually settles his kingdom. The fucking Nightmare Before Christmas kingdom. He goes to the place where he sends Chopper with the Dr. Caveman and the birds. He goes to Vegapunk's original lab, where he eventually sends Frankie. He goes to the Sky Island, where he eventually sends Nami, etc., etc., etc. I assume I didn't see it. Maybe I wasn't paying attention, but I didn't see that he went to see the Kuja Pirates. I assume he did, so he could send Luffy there eventually. And then eventually, our boy Kuma runs into an old friend. Yeah, Dragon. Yes, Dragon. He finds Dragon, and Dragon's like, oh, hey, buddy, how are you doing, my friend? You know, we've been doing revolutionary shit, and we're growing by the day. And, you know, he gets to see his old buddies, and he finds out that Ivankov and Inazuma have been taken to Impel Down recently, which will eventually tie into the main story, where they find Luffy in the Newkama section of Impel Down, 5.5, whatever, the hidden zone of Impel Down, where they eventually will be broken out, thanks to Luffy Dog. and everybody else that was involved in that breakout. But he explains, hey, I ran into Vegapunk, and it turns out his lab was destroyed by Caesar, and at Punk Hazard, gone, blow up, boom, gone. So right now the security around Vegapunk is low. He's transferring everything to a place called Egghead Island. If you'd like to go see him, now is the time. If anybody could cure Bonnie, it is this guy. So Kuma's like, yeah. But before he leaves, a few other members of the Revolutionary Army talk to him. He talks about Sabo being badass and Koala being badass. Dragon does. But what's her fucking... Bello Betty. Yeah, a younger Bello Betty, a youthful Bello Betty was like, can I be the new leader of the Eastern Squadron? And he's like, why not? I don't give a shit. And he's like, well, Bello Betty says, like, well, Dragon said that only Guinea can be the leader unless you say so. And he's like, oh, that's so sweet. But yeah, go ahead, who cares? And so then Kuma leaves. He goes and sees Vegapunk. Vegapunk's like, oh my goodness, you are a big man. I need to study them muscles. And scientifically, of course. And so Kuma talks to him for a hot minute. He even brings Bonnie, who has been training and fighting and preparing herself inside the Sorbet Kingdom. It shows her beating the shit out of people way older than her, and that shows how badass she eventually becomes at just a 10-year-old girl. And he goes with her. They go to Egghead Island. He's got like a little cage to block out the sunlight or the moonlight, whatever's worse. And they go see him. And they see Vegapunk, and Vegapunk's like, oh yeah, I can cure that, no problem. It's going to be expensive though. And you know, it'd be about as much as it would cost to make a cyborg. And he's like, you're going to turn her into a cyborg? And he's like, no, heavens, Betsy, no way, no. But if you're going to bring up cyborgs, since you brought it up, of course, why don't you become my test subject? And if you agree to let me clone you and test your, do some tests on your blood and whatnot, maybe I'll pay for her surgery, her cells replacements, so she could be cured from this death disease that she'll eventually die from, which I assume you cannot afford because it's going to be super expensive, like way expensive. But I'll pay for it. I'll put it on my tab. And Kuma's like, well, honestly, even if you were the devil himself, I would make this deal. I don't care what it would cost. I would, basically give up my own life to save Bonnie's life. So, yeah, let's do it. You want some blood? You want to make some clones? And, fucking Vegapunk explains he wants to make the pacifistas, these badass machines that are going to save the world, that aren't going to be murder machine Terminators. No way, Jose. They're going to be good fellas. And by the way, while all this is going down, Saturn is listening. Saturn, he seems to be popping up over and over again in Kuma's backstory. What the fuck is the rest of the Gorosei doing? Not much. Maybe it's just because he's in charge of what Vegapunk's doing, and that's why he's so involved, and why he had to be the one to go down to take care of Vegapunk since he was kind of under his management. He's kind of fucking up here, huh? So Saturn's like, weapons are only as good as how many people they can kill. And these new robots, they're going to be under my thumb. Oh yeah. And we still don't know why Kuma turned into a pacifista. I don't think it was explained in this chapter. He just said, I want to make clones of you because you are a buccaneer, which I can't explain why your blood's so important yet, which we'll probably get later. So Kuma agrees. Saturn was listening, and he plans on, turning this on its head and making the pacifistas we all know and love. And we find out the reason they're called pacifistas is because Kuma calls himself a pacifist, blah, blah, blah. It's like when you watch a prequel movie and they have to explain certain things just to be like, oh, that's from the original movie. And, it's all things that we know, and it's just an extra way of explaining where it came from. Things we could have assumed happened are now being shown to us in this flashback. And I have a feeling the next chapter, chapter 1100, will be so monumental. I think half of it is going to be flashback, and the second half is going to be Kuma showing up at the last minute to save Bonnie from the firing squad that we left off on. I do believe that to be true. I can't imagine that Oda's going to end chapter 1100 within this flashback. At the very least, he's going to end the flashback with chapter 1100, and then we'll pick back up with Egghead Island current timeline on 1101. But I really hope we get back to that timeline, at least with the last page, and we see Kuma popping in with his Pawpaw Fruit ability, blocking all the shots, hugging Bonnie, and Bonnie going back to her original state as a, child. Which at this point, I don't imagine Bonnie joining the Straw Hat crew. I can't imagine that. I don't know what's going to happen with her going forward. I know she's not going to die. No way. Kuma's not going to let that happen. No way, Jose. And we got to also remember the giant robot is awake again, too. Oh my goodness, that stupid robot's awake, and we don't know what the Iron Giant has to do with Kuma, but it seems like that's going to be a factor here. Maybe the Giant is going to get the Straw Hat crew away. Maybe that's how they're going to escape since, the Vega Force 1 was destroyed. I'm not sure. Yeah, I don't believe that the Iron Frankie General Frankie is going to be able to fly off with the Straw Hat ship like they originally planned. I could see the Iron Giant getting them out of Dodge. And I also could see Kuma showing up and starting a self-destruct type of scenario, kind of like Majin Vegeta from Dragon Ball, the Buu Saga, and grabbing onto Saturn, the demon spider bull, and, saying goodbye to Bonnie in a very sad, sad way, and being like, goodbye, and she's like, Daddy, no! And then he gives like a countdown, and the crew only has X amount of time to get away, but he'll give them enough time, and that'll be the end of one of the Gorosei. Yes! And maybe that'll be our path right now. Maybe we'll go from one Gorosei to another, or we'll fight the next 4 at the same time, or maybe 2 at a time. Maybe that's our current goal, just like with the 7 Warlords. We were kind of going through them for a hot minute, and then we were going through the Emperors for a hot minute. Now we're going to go through the Gorosei for a hot minute. I could see that going on, going forward. And then, I don't know. Again, like I said at the beginning of the story, I'm ready for some more details about the crew. We are possibly going to Elbaf next. So maybe that will be an Usopp-centric character development island. And of course we have to develop everything else around the story, but I think it'd be good to... We kind of skipped over Zoro's backstory in Wano, and that's fine. Zoro's a badass. He's kind of developed himself throughout the series regardless. But Usopp has been the ultimate character development character since he's taken a 180 from being a complete coward to being, a frightened man, of course, but still a warrior of the sea. But he still just has that one little bit of development that we're waiting for, and I'm hoping it's at Elbaf, because it just seems just like it's meant to be. And the same thing goes for Nami and fucking Frankie. Those 2 characters haven't had a lot of development in a long time. Nami, we don't know who her original parents were. Let's get into that, Oda. Same with Frankie. We don't know his original parents. We know he was dropped off at Water 7 by his pirate family that just kind of abandoned him. And maybe that's just where it's going to be left off. But I can't imagine that Oda isn't going to find a way to make Nami super important. Like as a former, daughter of a goddess or some kind of ancient weapon of some sort like Shirahoshi down the line. That would be interesting, to say the very least. To see that Nami's lineage is more important than we ever thought before. There's a reason she can sense the weather. Sense the weather. And I feel like that's coming around here soon, people. I mean, last week's chapter, Oda barely finished it. And then this week's chapter, it looks beautiful. Oda finished it. Maybe he just needs that extra time. And I don't think there's a break this week. And please let me know in the comments down below. I do not believe there's a break, so we're heading right into chapter 1100. But then we've got the big Christmas holiday breaks coming up throughout mid-December through January. There's going to be lots of breaks for Oda and lots of breaks for the manga Shonen Jump in general. I mean, I am down if Oda just wants to announce that fucking One Piece is going to be bi-weekly permanently, as long as he has enough time to check on his health, check on his family, and check work on his art and work his ass off like he normally does, because that's who he is, but he'll have the time to breathe and sleep and eat and be healthy throughout the rest of One Piece, and that's what I'm here for. I was even thinking about this. At this point in the story, it's been going on so long, would anybody be mad if Oda just made it monthly? Just like the current, Dragon Ball Super and Boruto thing, they come out monthly, but they're not 15 fucking pages. They get like 40 pages instead. So instead of waiting every other week, we just get one super chapter every month. And I would be okay with that as well. Whatever works best for Oda's schedule, whatever works best for Oda's health. This is more Fanime. What did you think of chapter 1099? Again, it's just, I'm a little fatigued on this backstory. I'm ready to get back to the crew. I feel like characters like Brook have done absolutely nothing in the Egghead Island arc, and that's just sad. And it feels like we're leading up to a crescendo. We're at the end of this arc, and I feel like Brook has been shafted. He was left on the ship with Zoro at the beginning of the arc. When they got to Egghead Island, he didn't get to fight Kaku like I hoped. Oh my god, don't get me started on fucking Rob Lucci. Jesus, the fact that he came back just to get his ass handed to him and then side with the Straw Hats against the Seraphim, which becomes off-screen. The fight becomes off-screen, which I'm fine with because I could give two shits about the Seraphim as characters right now. But then his fight with Zoro is more than likely going to be off-screen. Hopefully the anime picks it up. It's kind of giving me a migraine thinking about it, because I really like Rob Lucci. He's a cool character, and I hoped for more for him, but at this point I think it's over for the guy. Either way, do not forget to comment down below. Let me know your thoughts on this chapter. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. This is more Fanime. I'll talk to you later.